Alright, here we go. I'm going to snag some worms. I'm headed to Dewey's house. So let's go ahead and get some worms for him. What I usually do, I weigh them out if someone purchases them. But I'm just going to grab some worms. Just give them something to get started. And we shall call it good. And now it's time. I'm going to grab a few more. And now it's time to head to Dewey's house. All right, welcome back, Dewey. I want to thank you for your time. I just want to let you know that we reached 10,000 views on our last one of our videos, the black soldier flies. So, do you have any thing you want to say to the viewers about the video that you?
I want to thank you guys all for going. Welcome back again, by the way, AJ. But thank you all for sharing and participating and spreading the word about black soldier flies. It is actually proof right there that there is some hope for us humanity yet. So we'll have to see, but keep up the good work, people. Keep passing it on. I think it's awesome. Thank you, AJ, for helping me put that video out there.
And also, there's another video in the works, a follow-up video of your black soldier flies, because you said that they're still thriving. They made it through the winter.
When we can get a shot of that if you want while we're here. They're still in the shop here because, as you know, it's still pretty cold up here in northern Iowa. So they're still hunkered down in here for at least another 2 months before I can take them back outside. So hopefully they can last 2 more months. I know they're still alive right now, but
that's definitely a good thing. All right, so we touched base on the phone. You said you had an issue with your red wigglers. They died before?
Yes, I've tried twice with starting up a red wiggler farm, and I tried 2 different methods, and both of them I failed on them. So I was hoping that AJ, being he's got more experience with the worms and whatnot, that he can educate me. So I have invited him out to do a video on it, and we're going to set up the bin here today. I'll explain the bin to you, how this bin is set up, and some of the issues I had before. I started out in my basement with a tote like everybody does on YouTube, blah, blah, blah. Well, I ended up getting mites in the thing, and the next thing I know, my herd started going downhill and whatnot. So I went through the work and built them a nice through composter here and moved it out here to my shop because I seen this method here. And this one here, if you want to close in here, the way this critter works is I'll build the bed in here, as we'll demonstrate later. We'll build a bed in here for the worms. But essentially, I should never have to take stuff out of here. All the castings and whatnot, as the worms work their way up the pile, the castings will be at the bottom. There's trays in the bottom here that you can see that once the castings get so deep and I start running out of room up here, all I have to do is shuffle this. By the time I go to shuffling this, those castings down there should be 100% pure castings, and everything should be decomposed, and it just drops the level in here and I can keep feeding it. So theoretically, that's the way it's supposed to work.
And this box here, it's a cedar box, right? Correct?
Yes, this is a cedar box, and I did not use any treatment on the inside. It's just natural cedar. I did put a Johnson's paste wax on the outside of it. I did not put anything on the inside of it. Now, when I did my second batch, or my second herd, I put them in here, and I started out with some compost and wood chips on the bottom layer, and then I filled the entire thing up with leaves from out in the yard and let it compost for a while until the hot stage got gone, and then I put the worms in. They were doing awesome for a good 3 months, and I was adding other food in it. I think one of the other videos we touched on, the last red wiggler video, which keep passing that one around too. That was a pretty fun video. But I was adding cornmeal and my leftover worm frass from the mealworm farm, and I was still feeding them food, so they weren't strictly on a leaf diet, but I was not using paper and stuff. So AJ's going to go through with me. He uses a lot of paper and cardboard and stuff in there. I was using natural debris from out in the yard to see how that worked. And like I said, they were doing great for a few months, and then all of a sudden I just noticed that they kept getting less and less and less. But they composted the heck out of this, and I ended up with some beautiful castings, but the worms all died. So I'm going to give it a third shot here. Yeah. And if the third time ain't a charm, I got a really nice through composter bin that I'll be getting rid of. Because, I mean, I don't believe in trying the same thing over and over and expect different results. That's a form of insanity to me. So we're going to get into this here. I'll have AJ help me out. I'm going to, with the background research that I've done on YouTube and whatnot, these are things that I learned from YouTube that we're supposed to do. So I'm having AJ here give me a second opinion as far as, yes, we can, no, I wouldn't do that, yes, I'd do that, and see what happens. So we're going to start out with, for bedding, I'm using shredded paper. And this is just shredded paper, none of the glossy stuff. This is just shredded office paper from the office. And they like a very moist environment, so I'm just going to throw this in the bucket, get it soaking up water here. It shouldn't take too long for this to soak up water. And then I'm also going to be using cardboard. These here are like old egg cartons and whatnot. Speaking of egg cartons too, don't be buying the frickin' styrofoam and plastic egg cartons, people. Use paper egg cartons. They're a lot more easy for the nature to digest than that stupid plastic that us idiots keep making and buying. So I'm going to use these here as a... I know word wigglers like worm and aeration, so I'm not going to tear these up. I'm going to try to make a layer of this somewhere in our stack to where I'll leave these as whole, so it leaves aeration gap to where they can crawl in and out of it or whatever. And I don't know if that's the way, but these here are just cup holders that I get from when I get lunch at Don's. So we're going to throw these in there too and get them soaking. Now the way I understand, AJ, is the worms like their environment about the consistency of a wrung out sponge, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
So it needs to be wet, but it can't be drenched.
That's right, yeah.
And the idea that the worms will drown if it's too wet is they will crawl to the top and they won't drown, but essentially they just can't. They can't burrow down and eat if it's too wet.
That's right.
Because they'll suffocate because they can't get air, correct?
Correct. Yep, you're correct. Yep.
Okay. That's kind of what else. You do want some aeration. So I'm going to start out with this. As you notice, the fingers in the bottom here, they got quite a bit of a gap. And I don't want this stuff just falling through, so I'm just going to lay a good layer of dry newspaper down. And this will just essentially hold the stuff until once they start doing their thing. Here again too, no waxy crap in here. This is just plain dry newspaper, non-waxy. So essentially, once they start their colony in here and they start building, this here will end up rotting away, but there will be enough mass in the environment. I know it works because I've had them in here before and it worked out just fine. It didn't fall out until I ratcheted it. I get a little bit that falls out, but not a big deal. So I'm just going to put down a few layers of newspaper just to hold the stuff in here. And I did not wetten this down because I'm just my line of thinking, if worms like it to be really moist, they're not going to penetrate through that and I end up with worms crawling out of the bottom. I'm hoping. But here again, I don't know. Yeah. I'm still learning. That's why I got a professional here today.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay. You can't dazzle with brilliance, baffle them with bull, you know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's right. I'm still a student.
Aren't we all, though?
Yeah.
So I've got my layer down there, and then AJ was out. I wanted to show this stuff off. This stuff is awesome. AJ was out. We did a video on my chicken farm, my chicken ranch out here, and he asked me what I did with the bedding in the chicken coop. And if you remember, go check that video out. It was
Dewey's chicken coop,
or something. But anyways, if you go check that out, and you can see what this stuff looked like last summer when AJ was here. This was all started out as wood chips and wood shavings that I used for bedding in my chicken coop. And after 1 year, I went out and dug this out of the pile out here that we show on that video. And you've seen it on the video. It went through its hot compost and all that. But you have a hard time finding a wood chip in there. I mean, it's beautiful stuff. And it smells like dirt. I mean, it's 100% dirt. So that's actually not dirt per se, because dirt you think of you dig out, but it's actually a natural all composted wood chips and chicken doo-doo, and I guarantee you the chickens hauled stuff in from all over, because when I let them mow outside and free range, they go through about 1/3 of the amount of feed as when I got them locked up. It just blows my mind. I don't know where they're finding all this food, especially now. Bugs and stuff ain't real relevant, but I'll tell you, I haven't filled their feed hopper in their chicken coop out here for at least 2 weeks, and that only holds about a half of one of these 5-gallon buckets.
Yeah.
Now, if they're inside and I can't let them out free range like when it was snowing out and they didn't want to go outside in the snow, they'd go through 3 of these a week, easy. Three of them container. I was filling that thing, well, 1.5 of these a week, because that holds about half of one of these of ground feed when I grind them feed. So we got about 1 inch in there. I think we're going to go a little bit heavy. Swap these around again, keep them soaking. And this here is the same stuff off of the pile, but this here I did not run through a screen. I ran that through a screen because you don't want big stuff like this if you're planting plants, but as you can tell, look how easy it is for that branch to break. I mean, it's breaking down anyway. It will end up breaking down, but if you want it for potting soil or for starter plants, I started some plants. I'm going to see how they are. I just started them yesterday, so they haven't popped up yet. But we'll see. So I'm going to add a little bit more of this in there. I don't know. Do we have to worry about getting too much of this in here, AJ? Being this, I mean, this is actually a food source, because there is stuff in here that them wigglers will still be able to eat on. But I'm mainly after the organisms here. I mean, am I going to hurt anything? I want to save some for layering in between.
We're fine.
So I think we'll just. So that gives us about 2 inches there of a nice. And this stuff is good and moist. I just picked it up the other day, so as you can see, it's pretty moist. It's not overly moist, so. The beauty of this here is it will not compact like soil. If you get soil and it's really fine, and you do that with a wet soil that's as wet as this, it wouldn't do this when you're done.
Crumbles.
So it's really beautiful stuff. I love the smell of that.
Yeah, it smells clean.
That smells like dirt.
Yep, smells really good.
So do we want to put down the bedding or the food first, or what? What are we going to do here?
You can go and put the food in there. Let's add the food, then we'll cover it with the bedding.
Okay. So what I've got is I've got an old squash, and I'm going to try to keep most of the food on one side, because I don't want this to get hot compost. If I spread it over the whole thing and it ends up heating up, then my worms ain't got nowhere to go and they're going to get cooked to death. So we're going to play it safe here. Let's work it on this side.
We had a question too. Do we have dog or some cat food? Was it? Which one was it? Dog food?
Cat food.
Cat food. Just a question for the viewer. Have you ever put cat food in your bin? I told him I would not do it because I don't know. Because I think some cat foods have some man-made additives. Yep. So I didn't put anything in there, not cat food.
And the reason why... Oh, go ahead.
But if you have done it before, let me know, please, in the comments.
And the reason why is because I hate to waste food. And essentially, either the cat or the dog was trying to get in their bag of dog food, and she spilt it out, and this is just all the dirty crap that I swept up off the floor. I didn't want to throw it in the cat thing. But if AJ's thinking maybe not, I'm not worried. I think my chickens will eat this. And so far, them little dinosaurs have ate everything. And I've got healthy, lovely chickens. They're very happy chickens. So I'm not too worried about my chickens. I think they got cast iron stomachs or something, because those critters eat. Oh, my God, they eat. Okay, so we're going to throw down some bedding. I think I'm going to put the aeration layer down first. So I just soaked these, and I'm not even going to wring them out because I want them to hold the moisture. Oh, wait. I had more food to put in there. You crackhead. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Hey, I can call myself a crackhead. I didn't call you one, but it's all good. So, now, another thing, too, AJ, is I heard people say not to put onions and whatnot in. Well, I'm not going to throw them in the hole, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm thinking as big as this bin is, they can get away from the onions if they don't like them. You know, so I'm going to throw these in, throw the onions. There's some other materials in there, too, and whatnot. Looks like there's some bread in there. There looks like there's some potato peels. That's another one, too. I heard it's not supposed to go in there. It looks like a nice moldy piece of bread, too. Wow. That's been in there a while. I knew AJ was coming, and I don't get a whole lot for food scraps, so these been in there for at least a week now. And then I know they do need grit too, right?
Yep. Coffee
is a good source of grit, correct? Coffee grounds, spent coffee grounds. So here you go, guys. This should help you with digesting your food. Okay, coffee grounds are in. Let's see here. I'm going to put just a little layer of the compost over that just so they got the microorganisms going in there. You don't need a lot. So that's going to be their food bed, and I'll come in here. How long should I give this, AJ, to see if they come over here? Because we're going to put the worms over here, right?
All right, yeah, we'll put them there, and then they're going to go where they want to go. So,
okay,
yeah.
So give this probably a week and see if they've migrated over to food, or
yep,
how long
let's
can
do
I
that.
be expecting to...
Yep, because it takes about a few days for them to get used to the bin.
Okay.
So we'll let them come back in a week, tell me what's going on, if they migrated over.
Okay, so then we're going to throw in the... We've got all the food in. I'm not going to put the cat food in. I'll feed that to the chickens. They'll be all right. I'm not worried. I'm sure there's some GMO in that cat food too, and I am not one that freaks out about GMO, because I guarantee you if we were still eating the corn that nature itself didn't genetically modify, we'd have 2 rice kernels or 2 kernels of corn on a stalk is all we'd have.
Yeah.
And trust me, we wouldn't have the population problem we have. So I'm going to wring out this stuff here because these are small pieces. So I just want this the consistency of a wet sponge, correct? Something
Yep,
like so.
that's good, yep.
And we're going to put this all over the whole thing because I'm not worried about this decomposing and creating heat. This is more their bedding.
Yep.
I
Don't eat that. Don't consume that too.
So this is considered food also then?
Yep, that's considered to be one of the food sources.
Okay, the cardboard or compressed paper and the shredded paper.
Yep. The thing about when you do a worm bin, you want to kind of like put variety of foods in there. Like cardboards, they're your carbon, and paper is your carbon, and your grains are your nitrogens. But like with a human, if you only eat carrots all day, you don't get your proteins. It does no good for you. But so when you have a variety of different food sources in there, the worms will be able to
get a balanced diet.
Yep, and make your worm castings really great because they have different fiber, nutrients, and minerals, in their diet. So just don't feed them all cardboard. People do experience with just cardboard or just stuff like that, but I like to give them a variety of food.
Well, isn't the whole idea behind the red wigglers? These aren't just per se pets. The whole idea behind these is to keep our wasted food that we don't eat, that we are too snaky to eat, keeping it out of the landfill, correct? That's the whole idea?
Yep.
So, I mean, I can easily take care of my wasted food because I don't waste a lot of food. I mean, looking at this belly, this wasn't all built on beer alone, I guarantee you. I like to eat. So it's like, I don't have a whole lot for food scraps. That's why I was feeding them leaves and stuff. And AJ brought up a very good point, that if you are gathering leaves and stuff from outside, you are going to be bringing insects in. You'll get, because there are little insects lay their eggs on leaves and stuff and debris in the soil, like mites and whatnot. They just do. I'm not worried about mites in here. This is my blacksmith shop. Big deal. I don't mind. It doesn't bother me. But if you have them in your house, they'll end up getting in your house plants and everything else. You'll have these little flies flying around, which are not going to hurt you at all.
Yeah.
But the guests might come over and freak out because you got bugs flying around.
No doubt about that.
Whoop-de-doo. So that's pretty much all of the paper there. Have I got enough bedding here, or am I going to have to come up with more bedding?
Oh, you have enough. That's definitely enough. Yeah,
Okay.
We're good.
So to hold the moisture in, I'm thinking these guys here, I was going to put these in a layer, but we'll work on that. And these will be something, too, that I can, once these dry out, I can easily pull them out and, maybe not. They're getting kind of ooey-gooey soft there. So essentially these should be a air buffer layer like your leaves and whatnot out on the ground. They make through vocabulary action. Compressed soil will dry out faster than loosened soil will. Just simply because of the vocabulary action, which is the pressure of the water being able to rise. If you got a really thin tube with water in it, the water level will be higher. Than the bigger the tube, the lower the water level is. It's just the way it is, because it can't climb up as easy as it does in the soil, So we've got those guys, and then beans, they like dark, and I got a lid on top of this thing, but here again, to me, the more layers I have, the better off I am as far as keeping their moisture. So I'm gonna soak this cardboard box down here too, and we'll just lay that over the top as the whole critter.
And then another thing also, when you put your food in, you should always bury it because that will deter like fruit flies and stuff getting into your bin because it kind of like hides the smell. So that's another good reason why you try to cover your bins
Put a layer
up
on top like we're doing here.
Yeah, and they love, like Dewey says, they love dark. You know, so a lot of people buy the clear totes because they want to see what the worms are doing. But that's not a good idea because you'll stress your worms out because worms don't like light. So
kind of contradictive of being in the dark and you got them in a light cage.
Exactly. So yeah, don't take worms out of the natural habitat. Look at like animals in the zoo. Exactly. They're not the same. They're not the same.
We weren't meant to be caged. No. Although we're getting caged now with all this coronavirus going on, but life goes on. We can't go there. Dewey gets way too worked up over that stupid crap, but whatever. I'm just going to say one thing. Nature put it here for a reason.
Mm-hmm. I know. Okay. You're right, though.
All right. We got that there soaking, so I think what we'll do is you want to introduce the worms probably over here in the corner away from the food, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
They're up here.
So these here are worms. Thank you, AJ. AJ was kind enough to help me out here, get me started here. And I know he said that he wasn't going to accept payment for these worms.
Nope.
As you can see,
we're friends.
There are quite a few in here. But, I mean, there's all kinds of them in here. And this is the bedding left over from in his bin. So and they've got quite a bit of food in there, too, the way it looks.
And the castings, you want to always add the castings some of your castings that you have your worms in to keep their bacteria in the bins also.
So there is some castings in here, as you can see. That would be all the dark matter that's in there with the others. So I'm just going to lay these out in a row right along that edge there. All right. They all came out of there. Yeah. Oh yeah, we got a pretty good number of worms in there. Cute little guys. You guys better kick it in the you-know-what for me.
Hold on, it says something. We love you, Uncle Dewey.
You guys produce for me, I'll love you back. Otherwise, you can kiss my you-know-what. Okay, so we got the worms in their new house. Everything's all cool and kosher. I'm not going to wring this out either. I'm not worried about the excess moisture. It'll drain through. But I'm going to throw that right over the top of them so they stay nice and moist. I'm hoping that, because I have no way of sealing this up, and I could, I suppose, if I wanted to, throw a light over the top of this to keep them in here. Mm-hmm. But I'm hoping that if we did everything right here and we got the right environment here, why are they going to want to leave?
Yeah,
but exactly. I don't know that. We'll find that out. I know last time when I put them in here, I never once did I have any worms in here. Never once did I see them crawling up the sides, which they can easily crawl up the sides of this because it is wood. This is rough cut cedar, so they can easily climb up the sides. But I never had any escapees when I set this bin up last time, which I was quite impressed. So I was all excited, like, hey, I got this, man. I got it. Well, guess what?
Yep.
I didn't have it.
and another thing with your bin, you might have worms that do crawl up because some worms are just curious and rebels.
Okay.
But eventually they'll go back down. And one of my videos, I had problems with my worms trying to escape. A few of them, the herd would always migrate to one side of the bin.
Okay.
One person told me to flip the bin around. Once I turned the bin around, the worms stopped going to the top. I don't know why they did that.
You just changed direction of the bin?
Just changed direction, and it solved my problem.
Really?
Yeah, I know. Yep.
That's kind of interesting.
I know.
See, they're smart enough to know northwest and east south. So I'm going to throw the lid back on top of this guy now. This will also keep a humid environment in there. Mm-hmm. So you're thinking I can go easily a month without feeding these guys?
Yeah,
got that much food in
there? There's enough food in there. There's enough food in there. And about every 3 months, you know that the population should grow.
Right.
So
are these guys kind of like the soldier flies that I have to worry about overfeeding them?
Yeah, you don't want to overfeed them. So worms eat a pound and a half a day of their body and food. Okay. So
half of their body weight.
Half of the body weight. Yeah, that's what I mean. Thank you for correcting me.
So you figure I got about a pound of worms in here. Yeah. That is a good number for me to go
So with. You can go about 2 pounds a week, 3 pounds a week, you know what I mean? Okay. And they'll break it down. And then every 3 months, the population will keep growing. And then once you see the food starting to decrease, add more food scraps. So
they should double in population every 3 months?
Yep, every 3 months they should double.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought they were supposed to do.
Yep.
That ain't been my experience, but AJ, I want to thank you for the worms and.
Yep, not a problem. That's what friends are for.
Means I am the kind of guy I am. I've got a little gift for you.
Oh.
I got a dozen eggs for my chickens.
Thank you, Dewey.
My free-range chickens. And then here's a new product that I know you've never tried before.
Okay.
It's called Chickam.
Chickam. Okay.
Yeah, this is like Spam, only it's made with chicken instead of ham.
Sweet.
So I use cured chicken and pork is all that's in this.
Okay.
There's no floor scraps. There's no lips and the holes in here.
Okay.
This is actually just pork butt and cured chicken is all it is.
Okay.
And you mix it up. But I'll tell you what.
Just cut it up and eat it on a bread sandwich or anything?
You can cut it up, eat it straight up, or what I like to do is dice it up, fry it up a little bit, and then throw some eggs in there and some layers of cheese and wrap that up in a tortilla. And brother, that is groceries right there. I kid you not.
You got me hungry, but thank you.
Yes, but I wanted to buy you breakfast for your family there at least.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Thanks for the worms, I appreciate.
One question about your worms.
Okay.
Your castings, how did you sift your castings? You know, everyone has a different gadget to do it.
I built a screen. This here is the one that I would use for the worm castings. This here is 1/4-inch holes. So it'd give a really nice fine, what do you want to call it? A nice fine potting mix.
Okay.
For using for potting mix, which the way I understand the worm castings are about the best thing you can use for fresh starter plants.
Okay.
It's not too strong and it's very light and fluffy so the plants can actually grow a root system, and it's very high in nutrition, so they already got all their nutrition. So it's supposed to be an awesome source for bedding fresh starter plants.
Okay.
I have not been able to option to do that yet.
Yeah.
But as we were showing you that compost from my chicken coop out there, that other stuff, well here, it's quicker to just do a quick demonstration. That stuff that I showed you earlier was out of the bin, and it's this stuff here. It's still got big sticks and whatnot in it, but you'll see how beautiful this stuff is after I just put it in the sifter. And of course I like to make a mess because it gives me something to do. But I'll just run that through the sifter, and mainly what I'm after is getting out all this big debris, leaves and stuff like that that haven't decomposed yet. Because the way I understand, anything that's this big, it takes nitrogen to break that down. And as you can see, that's still pretty stiff yet.
Okay.
So that's got a long ways to go. So I'm just more or less knocking out these big chunks of wood and whatnot. But as you can see, they're breaking up pretty easy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They're decomposing anyway. So
that's amazing. And when you also think about it, like the forest, how they say...
a forest will only grow on a fallen forest.
Yep, and worms eat the stuff, and it's just crazy how nature takes its course. It's amazing.
So then we end up with that beautiful soil like I was showing you before. And this is, I don't know, I'm going to find out with my seedlings that I planted and see if they come up, and if they come up and they fry off, this might be a little too potent for them. This is not worm castings, this is chicken castings.
Yeah.
You know, this is essentially what I do is in my chicken coop is I put down a layer of sawdust, or not sawdust, wood chips, and then once they get that soiled and it starts getting heavy, I put down another layer to cover that up, and I just keep on going. And I've got, I don't know, probably 10 inches, 12 inches out in my coop right now. So come springtime when they start spending all their time outside, because they'll even roost outside at night when it gets nice out. And I got some of them that roost outside now. My free-range, naturally grown chickens, right off of my own breed of chicken, actually. It was born and raised here. I'm quite proud of those. I had 7 chicks. I had one of my hens hatched out 7 chicks. And when them chicks were 2 days old, she had them outside. It was 54 degrees out and raining like a cow peeing on a flat rock. And I thought, there go my chickens. And the next day I had 7 little fuzzballs bebopping around following mom, but they never got fed any chick starter. They never got fed no vitamins, no electrolytes, no nothing. I mean, they more or less, she had the chicks and they came out. And this winter there were many a times where I came out and it was cold as Billy Scratch out, wind blowing, and them 7 chicks were sitting out on the roost outside of the coop. Where all the other chickens were inside going, them guys is crazy, man. They're crazy.
Oh, shoot.
But, you know, so they're an awesome chicken. They're a very strong breed, and they're a beautiful chicken, too. We'll try to get a shot of them if they're around here. Right now, they're out and about having a good time. I don't know what they're digging for, because I can't believe the worms are up and at them. But I have seen night crawler holes out in front of the shop here, so evidently the frost is out, and the night crawlers are migrating and coming up. So maybe that's what they're finding out there. So, did you want to take a peek at the black soldier flies quick, just as a
let's do
quick one?
We'll do a quick view, and then we'll do another video on that one.
Is there anything I missed here, AJ, or anything that I should be?
No, I think we touched base on everything. You have your food. We're not going to touch them for a few days.
Okay.
About 2 weeks. We'll see if they're starting to migrate over.
Okay.
And then if they're migrating over, that means they're healthy. You know what I mean? I mean they're still alive, which is common. So
I got both fingers.
We'll just go from there and see.
Okay.
But we'll look at your black soldier flies, and we'll try to touch base with your chickens, and we'll see where it goes from there.
All right, I thank you people for your time. We're going to take a quick peek at the soldier flies. They're kind of hard to see them moving, but you'll be able to see that they're not all brown and decayed, so there are still some live ones in there. But I'm trying to play with their environment. Normally they live a lot further south than what we are here, but once I get my greenhouse up, they'll be out and active all winter long, hopefully. So let's take a quick gander at them guys.
Okay.
All right, people, back to the soldier fly. You remember seeing this bin down in my fly house. That's the video that's gotten over 10,000 views, which is awesome, I think. So essentially, you can see it must be warming up because I see there's some little fruit flies and stuff growing here. Let's see if we can get... Here we go. Now, they're going to be very hard to see. It's going to be hard to see them moving, but as you can see, they are moving very slowly. They are still moving, so I know they're alive. These are white, so I know they're still alive. This is strictly coffee grounds in here, is what they wintered in all winter long. And I can see they're coming to life big time.
Man.
They're moving a lot more today than they were the other day. But you can see some of them have died, but boy, I'm looking at, I got a pretty good majority of them that are, and they're very small. I mean, last year they were bigger than this when they went in there. This one here, he's still pretty well. They were bigger than this last fall when I put them in here. So he's still a pretty good size one. But the rest of these, I'm sure they've used their body weight and whatnot, or their body metabolism wise. But this is all just strictly coffee grounds. As you can see, they're all kind of congregated in that one area there. I think it's because that's where it's nice and moist. They like it moist too. So, oh yeah, I've got all kinds of them that they're moving very slow, but they're still very dormant. There's a very healthy one right there. But he's even small compared to what he was last year when we put him in here. But so I'm very proud that they made it. And like I said, I'm hoping when I get my pass-through greenhouse done, I'm hoping that I can hold that thing at least 70, 75 degrees throughout the whole winter. And so theoretically, I'm hoping that I can have soldier flies flying around in the middle of winter. If we do, AJ is definitely coming to do a video on that, because if we can see snow outside and soldier flies flying around breaking and meeting and feeding my chickens, because if you didn't see the video, you need to go check it out. I'm not going to take the time to explain this, but essentially, to rum it all up in a nutshell, these soldier flies are eating food, and they're turning around and making it very nutritious for my chickens. I can feed it directly to the chickens, but they're not getting near the protein source and whatnot, because these guys are like 46% protein, 32% fat in their larvae stage. I can't get that out of food. The chickens would have to eat. It'd be like you taking vitamins. You know, you can get vitamins if you eat, but you better eat like a horse if you're going to get enough vitamins you need, because we don't have there's not enough people growing their own food for our food to be nutritious. Everything is grown on big scale nowadays. You all know that.
No doubt.
That's just my opinion. Start growing your own food. You're going to be eating a lot healthier than the grocery store.
Yeah.
So that was the soldier flies. Check the video out again. Keep passing that video around, people. It's a good time. Thank you. All right, we wanted to take a quick look at the mealworms. So these guys have been in here all winter long. I just put them in some fresh moisture this morning, some squash I cut for them. And they're populating, well, they haven't populated much this winter, but these here will start to pupate out now that the temperature is warming up. And as we went over the other video on the mealworm farm, they go from the mealworm here to a pupa, and then they turn into a darkling beetle, they call them. Most of these are all dead. They've been in there all winter. I didn't do anything with the bin all winter long. There are some live ones in there. Let's see, where are they at? I see a lot of movement with the worms, but I'm not seeing any bugs going around here. But I know there are some. I see them moving. They might be burrowing down to lay their eggs, because they burrow down inside and then lay their eggs. And then the eggs turn into the little worms, and the little worms turn into pupa, and pupa turn into the beetle, and the cycle just keeps going. Them are also an excellent chicken feed, and they're also a good human feed. as you all know, I ate one or two of them already on past videos. I'm still here.
Yep.
Amazing.
That's right. You're right, Dewey.
So them are doing very well too. So I'm looking forward to getting them cleaned up and getting them going again here. With summer coming on and spring coming on here, I guess spring is here. Spring has sprung, as they say. Anyways, the weather should start warming up, and as nature will do, regardless of what we do, nature's going to continue running her course. That's all there is to it. So enjoy nature and respect nature, please.
Okay.
Oh, there's another. Okay, as you can see, my chickens are practicing social distancing. I got one here, one over there, one. They're scattered out all over out here in the trees digging. But them are my breed here. This one here is my breed. They are a mixture of Buff Northington and Old English. But one hen had all the eggs and hatched out of 11 eggs, I think she had. She hatched out 7 of them. I had one rooster. That's the rooster over there that came out of her. This rooster right there is the rooster that came out of my free range, naturally born. The reason why I say free range naturally born is I never gave them any vitamins, nutrients, nothing. She had them out 2 days old. I think that's actually mama right there.
So why are they coming over here? They think you're going to eat?
They hear me and they think they got goodies. They think I got treats for them.
That's a big rooster, though, man.
That's the rooster out of the free range. I have to get rid of him because I want to keep my original rooster, just simply because he's got prettier colors. And I'm not into the idea of him breeding his sisters. I think that's gross, but whatever. I guess it ain't no different than the other rooster breeding his daughters. I mean, whatever. But as you can see, the black tip-tailed ones are mine. They're hard to tell. It's hard to tell them all apart. Here comes a nice shot of one right here. But at 2 days old, those things were out in a rainstorm. It was like 54 degrees out, and they were soaking wet. And I was really worried that, you dumb mom, you need to take care of your babies. But the next day, they were just little fuzzballs running around having a good time. And you try to keep them going in a brooder house, and you have a heck of a time getting the light adjusted right, and you got to keep the heat on them all the time. I don't know. It was a whole different ball game for them as far as I'm concerned. So them chickens have never been, they were only handled by human hands once in their life. And that was when I took them down to Heritage Park at Junkapalooza to show them off. That's the only time them chickens have ever been touched by human hands. So I don't know that makes a big difference, but they're definitely hardier than the other chickens. They're usually the first ones out of the cage in the morning and the last ones to go in at night. But so I'm quite proud of my chickens. They are a beautiful chicken, as you can see, and they all look pretty much just like that one. I have a hard time telling the difference between them all, but so they are a purebred, and I'm pretty sure this one over here that he just had shot on, I'm pretty sure that's mama. I couldn't tell you for sure, but I'm pretty sure that's a Buff Northington. I'm pretty sure that's what they call them.
So question for you.
Yes.
You were saying something about you were trying to find a home for the rooster, or your rooster or chicken or something, or?
I was trying to find a home for the other ones, but I'm very nitpicky about how well they're taken care of.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to find another one. I'd rather, I guess, I don't mean to be cruel, but I guess I'd rather keep them for food than giving them to somebody that's going to feed them to the coons. I'd rather eat them than the coon. And most people, they don't take care of their chickens the way they should, because knock on wood, I have not lost a chicken in the 2 years that I've raised chicken. I have not lost one chicken to the predators, other than the dog that took 2 of them in the very beginning, and my little mutt that took one of them while it was still a baby chick. Them are the only 3 chickens I've lost on this facility yet, and I just make sure they get cooped up at night, make sure their coop is closed up at night. I got a secure coop for them. You can check out the coop on Dewey's Chickens or something, Raising Free Range Chickens. I don't remember what the name of that video is, but scroll down the line here, you'll find it.
Yeah, exactly.
Pass that video on too, because there's a lot of good information on there about, we need to take care of these animals. I mean, they're dependent on us to live a life, and it's not cruel to raise critters for food. My chickens get babied, don't you girls? You girls get babied. Ain't she a beautiful chicken? They get babied. I give them treats and whatnot. They're over here right now because they heard me talking. They think maybe I brought them treats. But I take very good care of my animals because my animals are going to feed me nutrition. So, you know, it's only right that they have a proper life instead of being caged up in a freaking confinement with 10,000 cousins, or should say 10 million cousins and whatnot, and living in their own stench. I think that's very cruel to animals. They're giving them the best life they can, but they get the same thing to eat every day. They don't get to go out and dig in the dirt and eat worms and have a good time, you know. That's a chicken's life. They love digging in the dirt. It's just the way it is. And so they get a good life. It's hard to dispatch them, but hey, you got to toughen up. That's just the way it is.
Yeah,
You know,
I hear you.
that's the only bad part. That's the only bad part I see about raising your own critters is the day comes when you have to dispatch them. That's a tough one, and I'll tell you what, I'd consider myself pretty rough around the edges.
Are you getting teary-eyed, Dewey?
No, I'm not getting teary-eyed. But it is a teary-eyed day when we have to dispatch. I had a pig one time. I tell you, I felt like a total jerk because, well, not a jerk, but a total weenie. Because I got this pig because the guy that I was getting the pig from, he wasn't going to be around that weekend. So I had to go pick this pig up on a Thursday. And I had to dispatch him Saturday night because we were having a hog roast on Sunday.
Oh, man.
That was the hardest friggin'. I mean, I downed that poor pig and stuck him, and I'm sitting there holding him and going, I'm sorry, baby. It was a teary-eyed. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's all good.
I mean, I got a heart. I don't know where the hell that came from, but I got a heart, I guess. You know, but critters are good people, so you know, it's just the way it is. So
I hear you.
It's a lot of fun, though. I encourage people to grow their own food. Look at the chaos that's going on with us right now. I mean, my God, you got grown adults fighting over toilet paper. And this isn't even, in my opinion, this is nothing serious at all. A lot of people think it is. I don't have a big problem with it. I'm pretty sure I'm one of the 4% that can survive it. So, you know, it doesn't bother me that much. I mean, I'm still using my brain and do sense, you know, wash your hands, clean up after yourself. You don't want to go kissing somebody that's hacking and sneezing and puking up blood. Duh, don't be an idiot. But still, let's use our heads, people. I mean, and in that sense, if you grow your own food, you got a lot better chance of sustaining than depending on the other. Less than 2% of this country feeds the rest of this country, people. Less than 2%. So what are you going to do when people actually start getting smarter instead of robbing all the toilet paper? Because I'm thinking if you ain't got food on the table, you ain't going to need the toilet paper. So I don't understand. It's not even like you get diarrhea from this corona deal.
That's
but
right.
Essentially, if you ain't got food on the shelf in the store, what are you going to do?
You
know, I mean, just be cautious of it, people. We need to get more people sustainable living. I believe that's just my belief. And the eating is definitely better eating. If you grow your own food, you'll have more appreciation for it. You'll have more respect for the animals, you know, to where I hate seeing cattle and chickens and whatnot in confinement. But in order to, thank you, sir. In order to feed the masses of people we have no choice, people. So that's just the way it is.
That's right.
But I thank you all again for your time. Please pass on the videos. Take care of our planet. Take care of each other. Try to stay healthy. It's the best you can do. Okay?
What's the name of your business you're trying to start up again?
I'm trying to start up. This is an education center called Full Circle Green. One of the goals this year is I want to get my greenhouse put up. So I've been doing some pricing and whatnot, and it's not cheap. So we'll have to see what we can do. But I'd really like to get a greenhouse put up this year because, like I said, then throughout the winter I can be growing food for my chickens, and I want to get into rabbits too and start raising my own rabbits. And so I'd have food for them through the winter. And also the biggest thing I want to do is see if I can house soldier flies over the winter and keep them alive and keep them producing throughout the winter instead of being in a dormant stage, because it was very, very tough for me to throw away. I don't feed my dogs cooked meat scraps because I use seasoning. I use a lot of seasoning, so I don't give my dogs the meat scraps. I mean, if the chickens had their fill or whatnot, I'll cut them up for them. I don't think it bothers them any. But man, I had a hard time throwing stuff that I couldn't feed to the chickens and couldn't feed to the. I had a hard time throwing that in the garbage. But, you know, I couldn't feed it to my soldier flies because they were dormant. They wouldn't have ate it anyway. But at least now, if I get my red wigglers going, the way I understand, we can't feed them meat scraps, though, right?
Nope, you don't want to put meats, dairy, any of that in there.
Meat and dairy. See, and that's the stuff that the soldier flies will eat. So I don't know. We'll just have to see how it goes. I'd love to get that greenhouse built this year, but you know, you can want in one hand and you know what in the other. See which one fills up first. But
yeah, so if you're feeling, viewer, if you want to donate, Dewey will use the money for the good cause. So
definitely. Good education for you and your children and your future generations to come.
That's right.
Is what I'm after.
But Dewey, I want to say thank you for your time, and I appreciate you doing this once again.
You bet. Thank you.
We'll keep the friendship going and focus on another video pretty soon.
All right. Sounds good. Peace out, people.